it possible, if we did that, that one of those 6,000 nuclear weapons might wind up in the hands of some anti-American terror group and be used against our civilian population here? A nuclear weapon.
Yes, Tucker Carlson is still unapologetically defending Vladimir Putin in every opportunity he has. And in the latest episode of his show, he decided to specifically pretend as though US foreign policy in regard to Russia is regime change, even though Biden had made it abundantly clear that that was not the policy. So here's Tucker Carlson fear-mongering, not about Vladimir Putin and all of the disastrous war crimes he's committed in Ukraine, but he's here to fearmonger about Biden and alleged regime change, which of course is not being implemented. Let's watch.
Our policy, according to the President of the United States, is to take Putin out, to remove him as head of state. To be clear, regime change in Russia has never been American policy. And this is hardly the first time we have tangled with Russia. We've had far more threatening circumstances than this one. The United States, you'll recall, waged a proxy war against the Russian government for 11 years in Vietnam. Nearly 60,000 Americans died in that war. And yet, no American president mentioned regime change at the Kremlin. Why? Because they were soft on the Russians? No, because Russia has about 6,000 nuclear weapons.
Now, we're gonna get to the nuclear weapons in just a moment because Tucker apparently has no problem with Putin being in charge of those Russian nuclear weapons. However, I do want to clear the record for, I don't know, now the second time on this show to make it clear that the US is not attempting to overthrow Vladimir Putin. In fact, Biden was asked specifically about that just yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
You now regret saying that because your government has been trying to walk that back. Did your words complicate matters?
Well, you asked 3 different questions. I'll answer them all. Number one, I'm not walking anything back. The fact of the matter is I was expressing the moral outrage I felt toward the way Putin is dealing and the actions of this man. Just brutality. Half the children in Ukraine. I just come from being with those families. And so, but I want to make it clear, I wasn't then, nor am I now, articulating a policy change. I was expressing the moral outrage that I feel, and I make no apologies for it.
He wasn't articulating a policy change. And guess what? Tucker Carlson and his producer goons know that, okay? They know that that's the case. They're intentionally lying to the audience to make it appear as though the US is trying to overthrow Putin, and it's just not true. Now, I wanna go to one more video here because this is where Tucker Carlson just makes a bizarre claim about how overthrowing Vladimir Putin would mean that the nukes would actually end up in the wrong hands as if they're in the right hands today. Let's watch.
Russia has about 6,000 nuclear weapons. So let's say we eliminated the Russian head of state and of course that country's central government. What would happen to those weapons? Well, let's see. In Iraq, Saddam's weapons stockpiles, all conventional, wound up in the hands of militia that used them to kill Americans. So Russia has a large and restive population of Islamic extremists. Do we think it's possible that with no one running the country, because of course we have no chosen successor to Putin, is it possible if we did that, that one of those 6,000 nuclear weapons might wind up in the hands of some anti-American terror group and be used against our civilian population here? A nuclear weapon.
A nuclear weapon, Cenk, because Russia threatening to use nukes in this war is not a big problem. As long as Vladimir Putin's the one putting out those threats, nothing to worry about. But the people we really need to be worried about, according to Tucker Carlson, in this particular conflict is radical Islamists. It's the Muslims we need to be worried about.
In Russia, okay.
In Russia, yeah.
Yeah, so, but to be fair, Anna, if Muslim extremists got a hold of some Russian military equipment and Russian nukes, they could invade a nearby country like, I don't know, like maybe Ukraine, and they could kill thousands of civilians and destroy whole cities. And they could threaten to use nukes in the middle of that war and chemical and biological weapons. Oh, right, Putin already did all of that. But Tucker Carlson doesn't have any problem with that. And he thinks his audience doesn't have any problem with that. But imagine if brown people had nukes. Imagine if it was Muslims. And to be fair to Tucker Carlson, he knows what's gonna work with his audience. His audience thinks, oh yeah, right-wing authoritarian dictator Vladimir Putin, who's destroying Ukraine and killing all those civilians, but he's white and he's right-wing. So come on, he's not that bad. Muslims, oh my God, Muslims, their faces melting. Yeah, look guys, it is what it is. The Fox News audience is obviously full of bigots and Tucker Carlson knows that. So he plays it up to them. All of this is super obvious. Look, the Biden administration walked back that one line that Biden had at the end of his speech that the reporter was referencing about half a dozen times, including Biden himself. You saw it with your own eyes on tape there. You think Tucker Carlson's crew didn't see any of that? Those are all massive news stories. Probably the biggest news story over the weekend. No, obviously they saw it and they chose to lie to you as if Biden had changed US policy and was in favor of regime change after they had already walked it back all those times. And it was never a policy statement. It was just one sentence that he went off the teleprompter because he was mad at Putin. So Tucker knows with absolute certainty that that is not the policy of the Biden administration, yet he chose to lie. But guys, think about it this way. He's not lying to us. We know he's a con man and we know he's all those terrible things that he is. He's lying to his audience. He thinks his audience is full of racist, bigoted schmucks. So he can say any lie he wants and they'll believe him anyway. You think they're gonna research something? You think they're gonna look it up? No, Tucker Carlson has the appropriate amount of respect for his audience, which is zero.
You know, the thing that I'm trying to figure out though is what is the incentive to lie about what US foreign policy toward Russia is? We're not attempting to get rid of Vladimir Putin. I mean, look, the sanctions could help propel that. The sanctions could help trigger that, especially if some of these Russian oligarchs are really feeling the financial weight of having to deal with these sanctions. But aside from that, I mean, he even tried to make it appear as though we're sending troops to Ukraine, which is not true. Biden has said on multiple occasions that under no circumstance will he put boots on the ground in Ukraine. Yes, he has sent troops to neighboring countries because those are, our NATO allies, and there are certain, agreements that the US has entered in regard to those countries. But outside of that, what is the incentive here? And I think it goes along with Tucker's attempts to appeal to populists in the country, individuals who are rightly sick of war, who are tired of US intervention in various countries and various regions of the world. They have the right idea, but what I think Tucker is trying to do is tap into those groups of people in an effort to make himself out to be this anti-intervention, pro-America guy. He's trying to toe the line with this populist rhetoric. But fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, all he really does is A, lie about what the official policy is, as we've made that abundantly clear. But more importantly, B, he provides cover for Vladimir Putin and the behavior that he engages in, including the invasion of Ukraine, the slaughter of civilians, including children.
So Anna, you're opening up a can of worms on why Tucker does this, right? So I agree with you that a big part of it is this fake populism that he has. And he thinks he's probably gonna get not just right wingers who are tired of war, but he thinks he can peel off some left wingers doing that. But that's already been exposed. He tried 1,000 times with Glenn Greenwald and Tulsi Gabbard and Jimmy Dore. He brings them on to be the fake left, et cetera. But all those guys are at this point obvious con men, and they have no left-wing supporters left at all. Whoever's their fans are right wingers. But so I don't know if Tucker's just miscalculating there and in kind of an old school way of appearing to be fake bipartisan, right? Then this second theory, and this is only mine, and I know that it's a bit speculative and it's a minor part of it. But if Tucker Carlson is gonna run for president, well, the Russians helped Donald Trump tremendously, whether they cooperated or they didn't. The Russians did actually get those emails that Trump publicly asked for from Hillary Clinton, and they did reveal it, and they did help Donald Trump enormously. So Tucker Carlson's thinking if he runs for president, well, he's gonna have the entire Russian intelligence operation behind him, and that might be helpful to him. But the third part I think is the most important. It turns out Tucker Carlson is a true conservative traditionalist. And so we've talked about this before. There's a philosopher, I hate calling him that because he's so dumb, who's a fascist in Russia. He's a current day so-called philosopher. His name is Alexander Dugin. And Steve Bannon has said many times about how much he admires him. Tucker Carlson has mentioned him. And this guy says we need to go back to traditional values, religion, the community, etc. They hate individualism. And they believe in worldwide conservative unification, and basically they're betraying their own nation in favor of what they view to be their ideology. That's why you're seeing the t-shirts that's filtered all the way down to the voters that say, would rather be a Russian than a Democrat. In other words, I don't give a damn about America. I prefer Russia as long as they're being right wingers. So that's the camp ideologically that Tucker Carlson's in. That's why you see him doing all of this insane rhetoric on behalf of Vladimir Putin. So why is he doing this nuke talk now? The nukes are already in incredibly dangerous hands. They're in the hands of the madman Vladimir Putin. But since Tucker Carlson likes Putin and his ideology, he then has to say, well, okay, let's leave him alone. Let's not do any regime changes, which we're not doing anyway. And let's withdraw, get out of there. Let Putin do whatever he wants to Ukraine, because it'll hurt Biden and it'll help his beloved Vladimir Putin. So that's who Tucker Carlson is, and every sane person understands that. It's just his right-wing audience that still thinks, oh yeah, the boogeyman is the brown man, and so anything Tucker says, I'll listen to right away.
I mean, look, it's just amazing to me that conservative viewers can follow along with this stuff, because on one hand, you have Tucker Carlson claiming that Biden's implementing this insane policy of regime change in Russia, and then other conservative talk show hosts claim that Biden's too weak because he refuses to implement a no-fly zone over Ukraine. So which one is it? Is he this crazy pro-war zealot, or is he this weakling that refuses to escalate the war with a no-fly zone? It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but Anna, that's a good point, and I'm just gonna say real quick, there is a real divide, even on Fox News. Like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson don't agree at all. Sean Hannity is more of a traditional Republican, and he wants the Republicans to be authoritarian here, but he still generally believes in the concept of America. He might be against democracy if Trump loses, but he's more of an establishment guy, a corporate guy, and that's where most of them are. Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon are in a different camp of that traditionalist, populist, Duginist camp. I know this reference to Dugin is so obscure for people, and it's unbelievable that they believe in this fanatic and literal fascist. See, Dugin calls for tremendous violence against his political opponents. So the Tucker Bannon contingent is much more dangerous. The Hannitys and the other guys on Fox News are normal, run-of-the-mill, awful Republicans, but the Tucker and Bannon crew are a new dangerous breed of neo-fascists. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.